Wow, this is the worst timing ever. Welcome back to the channel. I literally just got done making this video. I wanted to get this out yesterday, but I didn't have time. And lo and behold, as soon as I get the video done, literally the second I'm done, I happen to open up my Facebook, and what do I see? They've canceled the 2020 season update DLC. Who would have known? So that doesn't completely make this video irrelevant, because I was pretty sure it wasn't going to happen anyway. But I want to put that in the beginning, because that was sort of the basis of this video, but I do still suggest you stick around for the whole thing, because I do talk about much more than that. And the other thing that happened was 704 Games got back to me in an email. Now, it's not the most informative thing in the world, but I guess it sort of set the tone for today's announcement. So I'm going to just touch on that quick before we dive into the video that I have done now. And people are pretty livid, and I'm not really surprised at that. I kind of expected people to lose their mind over this. So I'm going to just post some Facebook screenshots I just took here. Poor old Ryan McCall is asking for a partial refund. And Nascar Heat says the 2020 update would have been free to everyone. It wouldn't have been part of the season pass, same as previous games. So, there you go. In case you thought you might have that option, you don't. And they also said that apparently they had announced, I don't remember seeing this, but they had said that they were the DLC was only the season pass only covered 4 packs. So, I didn't know that either. Yeah. So anyway, people are pissed, but having said that, they did put out a press release, I guess you would call it, and they will be having a AMA on Reddit, so just like a Q&A. And that will be on the 13th, ironically, when Tony Stewart's game drops. So timing's everything. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there just before this video starts, because in a sense I don't know, timing sucks and sort of wrecked my video. I'm a little sour, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, like I said, I do suggest sticking around for it, because I talk about much more than that. So anyway, here it is, and keep in mind this was seconds before I learned this news myself. So enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel for another video. This time we're gonna kind of revisit a video. And you're probably asking, why are you doing this again? You already did it once. Why bother going back? Not that much has happened since that video was released. And in a sense, you'd be right, but at the same time, not exactly. I wanted to touch on, because I was going to make this video anyway before some stuff went down, just to kind of address some of the comments that were in the video. But in the previous video, I talked about a wish list, and I talked about like realistic things that could go in, not fantasy tracks or necessarily fantasy drivers, but just things that would be nice to see, like caution replays and a better replay mode, and maybe even a photo mode or a better paint booth or what have you, better damage model, whatever. And I think maybe some people got the impression that I was a little too like lenient on 704 Games. I guess maybe I was. I guess I could have been a little harder on them. I know there was some people that had some issues with the damage model, and I get that, and the more I've been playing the game, the more I'm noticing that sort of stuff myself, just from playing different game modes that I hadn't played a whole lot before, like championship mode, for instance. I started playing that a little more, and I'm noticing differences between that and just single player offline. But, you know, some of the comments in the previous video was, yes, wishing for a black number 3, and that's, I mean, I shouldn't say that's not going to happen, because I guess it could, but probably won't. Yeah, here's someone disagreeing with liking the damage model. Pisses me off when I barely touch the wall and 35% of the entire front end of the car is caved in. I agree with that. I can see exactly what you're talking about now. I honestly hadn't had that happen to me, but since playing championship mode, I did a race at Richmond the video will probably be going up soon, and I had similar things happen, put it that way, as well as tire wear. I'm noticing that because I believe the last patch was supposed to address tire wear issues in championship mode, and I like with the AI, and I don't know if it did really, because the AI literally ran a 100-lap race and didn't change tires, and I think we were on 2 times wear, and you know, my right rear probably after a stage which is about, I don't know what, 25 laps or so, was probably about 72%. So the fact that they ran the whole race on that set of tires is kind of stupid. And then, like, I hate, yes, it's nice to have the sliders, but I hate that you have to go in and kind of mess with those to get the result you're looking for. But before anything here, because this is probably going to be a kind of a long video, the first thing I want to address is all this discussion and this craziness of the 2020 update. Are we getting the 2020 update? I'm going to put it out there now, simply put, no, I don't think we are. I know that's the answer a lot of you are looking for, and I'm not happy about it either. We're used to that. We've been getting it even since Utechnics made these games. We were getting a 2020, well, not 2020, but like a next season update. So it's not looking good, and I'm going to get into why it's not looking good in this video. So, you know, I was going to talk about a few other things maybe we wanted to see, like more post-race and pre-race coverage, maybe an in-depth career mode, kind of like NASCAR 2006. But I think we're kind of going to have to take all those wishes and put them on the back burner for now, because so recently Monster Games, who is the publisher,
Nope.
no, I'm lying to you. Let me start this again. Monster Games, who is the developer, which is not the publisher, so you have a developer which kind of like does the code for the game and you know, makes your paint schemes and stuff like that, and you've got your publisher who like distributes the game. 704 is the publisher. They're the ones that are the games going to retail through them. Okay, well, Monster Games is like, see you later, bye bye. Not sure what happened. We know that there was layoffs and stuff at offices and what have you, and some people lost their job, and that sucks. But anyway, just to give you a quick backstory, this is why this really sucks. Monster Games started, according to Wikipedia, they're founded in November 1996. So they've been around a while. Well, why does that matter? Well, it matters because they've literally worked on every NASCAR Heat iteration ever. Like all of them. Since the first one, 2002, 2001, whenever it was actually came out. So that sucks. That sucks a lot. Yeah, so they're gone. And there's a few interesting things about this. Now, we know for a fact that NASCAR Heat 5 was in development, and we totally got confirmation of that when they did that Q&A in early December, and I made a video kind of addressing some of the questions that were asked about Heat 5, and it got me pumped up for the game. We got some answers. You know, it wasn't anything in great detail, but it was some answers as to what we could expect to see. Now, mind you, this is all prior to Monster Games leaving. So now Monster Games is releasing, I'm not sure when this particular video is going to drop, but they're releasing Tony Stewart's Dirt Track Racing, I think it's called, something like that. And it's releasing on the 13th of February. Now, there is a gameplay video out there. It's like 30 or 40 minutes. Jeff, I can't remember his last name. He's got a good channel. Showcases a lot of new games that aren't out yet when he gets developer copies or whatever. If you look at that game, the first thing that's going to strike you is NASCAR Heat 4, like right off the bat. Just the user interface is really similar. Like when you go to start a race, it's almost identical. Just the way the camera pans around the car. Yeah, that's not good. Now, it's good for those guys. If you were a fan of dirt racing in this game, you're going to love that game. I did not like the handling model of dirt racing in this game. That's why I don't do any of it. I find it extremely frustrating on a wheel. But anyway, them making that game and the engine they use is kind of an interesting point. I'm going to come back to that. So anyway, that's going to satisfy the dirt crowd. But what about us? Are we in the same boat we were in 2009 with EA? I don't think so. Like like I said, Heat 5 is in development. You know, we have confirmation that it's started. We don't know how far in they are. I'm assuming they started development right when Heat 4 launched. So you're looking at late September, if not before. Um, but it leaves the project in an interesting state. We don't have a developer announced. Obviously, they must be looking. Maybe they have one at this point. No one really knows. It's been kind of quiet. Even if you try and Google Monster Games leaving, you're not going to really find that much. But some good things that we can take from this is we're in the middle of the Pro League Season 2. There's a lot of attention on that right now, which is a good thing. You know, the social media accounts for Heat 4 are extremely active, more so than ever, now that they have that new social media guy. He's, you know, he's doing good. I think there's more attention than ever, and they're showcasing a lot of, like, fan channels on YouTube and stuff like that, which is awesome. I think that's a really cool thing for them to do that. They don't have to do that. It's really neat that they are. So, obviously the series isn't abandoned. And to jump right to it, we are going to have NASCAR games till at least 2029. We're pretty sure of that. That's when 704 is claiming that's when they have the NASCAR license until. It's a long time. So it's not really going to be a matter of if the games are going to be made. It's going to be a matter of who's making them. So, that's reason number one. Reason number two is Stephen Hood, and I know I mentioned him in the Q&A session, but I didn't really go into depth on him, I don't think, enough. I guess I should have, because this guy is an ex-Codemasters creative director. The Codemasters know what they're doing when they make a racing game. The F1 series, even from their first game, if you compare the first Formula 1 game in 2010 to any of these first iteration of NASCAR games, you know, the differences are quite a lot. Now, yes, Codemasters has a lot more money than these independent studios do, so that's a lot to do with it. And maybe that'll be the downfall. I don't know. If this guy's used to working with a whole bunch of money and now he doesn't have it, you know, is that going to limit him creatively? I don't know. But anyway, I want to thank I can't remember the Reddit user. I found this on Reddit, this part. Gamesindustry.biz. I never heard of him before. Some gaming website. Anyway, they interviewed him on the 17th of January, so pretty recent. And I'm going to leave the link to the article in the description of the video so you can read that if you want to, because it's pretty interesting. There's some cool stuff in there. But I'm just going to skim it here, just a few points that I took away from it. He said they're willing to go outside of the box of the norm, which is good, or bad, I guess, depending on how you look at it. Recruitment efforts are ongoing, this direct quote, with plans to reach 75 to 100 staff by the end of the year, although Hood stresses the focus is on hiring the right people and when, not just putting bums on seats. So he's not just putting the bums in the seats, he's going to look for the right people. And he's probably going to know a lot of the right people. Now, I know this guy's from the UK, and it might turn some people off thinking that a UK company is going to make a NASCAR game. And you might think, well, they should just make a touring car game or IndyCar, anything, or F1, anything but this. But no, I don't think that's a bad thing. If these guys are passionate about racing, then we're gonna get a good product. He also says they're looking to make a sim-style game. It looks to me like there's a long-term plan in place. Now, again, like I said before, there's not a ton of money like Codemasters has, but you know, he's got the license to work with. That's a big deal, and it is mentioned about fantasy drivers. He's probably going to regret saying that, because you know what this community's like. They're gonna hound him forever about that. Another thing, I'm not just selling a NASCAR game to a NASCAR fan or an IndyCar game to an IndyCar fan. I'm going to sell it to sports fans, racing fans. The very niche market is tied up right now. We're going to try and do something that will appeal to a much wider market of gamers and motorsport enthusiasts. The proof will be in 2021 when our first internal projects start to hit the shop floor. Now, two interesting things about that. That might scare some people off into think, well, this is just going to be a really generic title, and this is not going to be what we're looking for. I disagree, and I'm going to point right to NASCAR Thunder 2004, because I'm pretty sure that you can go up to most anybody that grew up in that era playing those games in 2003 to 2006 even, and ask what their favorite racing game was, and sure, they're going to say Need for Speed Underground 2. Everyone loves that game. But I bet you a lot of people that aren't NASCAR fans are going to say Thunder 2004. Regardless of what they did with the game, a lot of people played that game and a lot of people liked it, and they weren't necessarily NASCAR fans. Now, us that are NASCAR fans are still really enjoying that game even today. So, don't get really turned off by that comment where he's saying he's trying to appeal to a wider market. That's what he should be doing. That's not a bad thing. But the other thing he said in there was that the proof will be in 2021 when our projects start to hit the shop floor. So that kind of tells me, and that's going to bring me to this point here. I think we're going to get a game this year, but I think what we're going to get is NASCAR 15, which, if you don't remember that, NASCAR 15 was quite honestly just NASCAR 14 with a different cover star and updated cars, and that was quite honestly it. I think that's what we're going to see. I think, because this is bad timing with all of this happening. We've got next-gen consoles on the way. They're supposed to launch holiday season this year. So, with this project being in the state that it's in, they're in a bad situation in a sense, because they've got a developer that's got a game started, potentially mostly on hold at this point. It's in development stages that's probably designed for current gen hardware, and now there's a new console on the way. So even if we get a new developer on board now, we're going to be delayed anyway, just for them to getting up to speed on what they've already got to work with. And are they going to want to scrap it and just go for a next gen console, a next gen port? I don't know. But that's why I say we're probably just going to get a repackaged version of this year's game, because with these guys having the license as long as they have it, they're gonna, they're obligated. I'm pretty sure they're obligated to make a game every year. So, it makes the most sense, from a company standpoint, to just take what you already have, try and dress it up a little different to tide the audience over for a year, while you can focus all your attention on making the next gen version of the game. And that way you fulfill your license, you make everyone happy. That's not going to happen. But I think that's what you're going to see go on. And I know that's going to disappoint a lot of people. And I think that's the reason why we're not seeing the DLC for the 2020 update. I just don't think we're going to get it. The other reason of that being, Monster Games was probably, when they bailed out, I have to believe that they were probably in the middle of doing DLC yet. Because we never got any playoff schemes, really. And, we never got a dedicated playoff scheme pack, and we never got the 2020 update. Why? Because they would have been in the middle of working on it. So, I don't think we're going to see it at all. I don't know. I mean, they're not obligated to send any of that stuff out. Just because you buy the season pass doesn't mean, you could get one DLC pack or 20, right? There's nothing to say when you buy this season pass, this is exactly what you're getting. It's just whatever they release. So it kind of sucks for those that did get that, like myself. There'll always be that, did I get my money's worth question, and that's subjective to who's asking, I guess. Anyway, moving on, I want to get to something that kind of scares me, because this is what can go wrong. Now, in the first video I made, I did make the comparison to WWE 2K20. Not 2K20. Don't copy anything from that game. But 2K17, 18, you have a showcase style. WWE is really good with that. They take up moments in history from years past and you recreate matches. And I mentioned how it's awful. If you're not aware, I highly suggest you go just watch a few YouTube videos on what's going on with that game. But in short, basically, Ukes made the WWE games forever, since the late 90s. And even when THQ went under and 2K took over, they were still there. So Ukes is the equivalent of Monster Games for us. So Ukes leaves, and now this is a little different situation because 2K kind of pushed them out in a sense, and they're like, see you later, we don't need you anymore, bye-bye. Well, they knew that 2 years in advance of when it happened. The problem is, when they left, they took a lot of the code with them. and it was simple stuff like for instance, if you're creating a wrestler and the way their hair, the physics of their hair, if they have long hair, or the physics of like if they're holding a title belt and they're walking with it, how does it move, stuff like that. They took that stuff with them, so these guys essentially had to make a game almost from the ground up. They didn't have a lot to build on from the previous year. It's possible to end up with a really broken game with minimal support, because that's what everybody that bought that game is finding out now. Now, I don't think that's going to happen to us, considering where Steve comes from. I think the odds are good that it won't happen to us. I just hope he can live up to what he said. But remember, this is what I'm coming back to from what I said earlier, that Tony Stewart's game is running on the Heat 4 engine. That's important. Why is that important? Because, well, that's Monster Games with the Heat 4 engine. How much of that code did they own and take with? It looks like a lot. So it begs the question on what is 704 actually left with. Now, they're going to have the base engine of the game, but they're not going to have a lot of these. The game has improved physics-wise quite a bit since Heat Evolution. So, I don't know, are they going to have to build stuff from the ground up? Are they really able to copy-paste NASCAR Heat 4 to Heat 5? I don't know. That's going to have to remain to be seen, and it's really not going to tell you anything from game trailers necessarily. But it looks like Tony Stewart's game is running pretty much on Heat 5 hardware, or Heat 4 hardware, whatever. So yeah, I don't know. These guys have been building on this basically since 2014. And I think if you really want to go back, I think the base code of this game was even from the original Heat series. I hope that's not the case, because we could end up with a busted game on release, but I don't know. Again, all of this is speculation based on what we know, but it's all topics that we should be looking at, because, we're in a really different position than we were early December. So, for the next installment, we may have to hold off on a wish list, like we discussed in the previous video, just because we're probably just going to have to settle on the fact of getting a new game. It's sort of sad because, being a NASCAR fan and a fan of video games, it's been pretty tough, quite honestly, since 2008 for most of us, and even farther back than that, because some people were saying they haven't made a good game since 06, 07, and that's a fair argument. EA really dropped the ball the last 2 years they had the franchise, because they just didn't care anymore, and we got U-Tactics, and they were a smaller studio, and they didn't necessarily live up to everyone's expectations, and now here we are with another new developer, and now there's issues again. So it's sort of one hit after the other. You get your hopes up, and then it sort of brings you down again. So I think there's some light at the end of this tunnel. I think long term this is going to be good if Steve Hood here can live up to everything he's saying. It's easy to say, talk a big talk, but can you actually deliver? And there's no way to know other than to wait, find out. But we're going to have a new NASCAR game every year, supposedly. So, we can hang our hat on that. It's just going to be a matter of what we get. Now, I'm not saying don't buy Heat 5, but I would look really close on what this game looks like, rather than just going out and buying it because it's a NASCAR game. So, anyway, if I missed anything, please let me know in the comments. I love to hear what you guys think. Just remember, try and keep the comments, respectful. Because at the end of the day, these guys that work for these companies making games, they go to work every day just like us. They're just trying to get by, make a living, and they're just doing the best with what they got. So, thank you for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this. Hit that bell notification thing. I always forget to do that on everyone's video. And I never tell you guys to do it because I don't do it. But if you could, you at least know when I put new stuff out. So, just got that going for you. Because I always got, I got a few things on the go. We got Red Hicks Rise to Glory. That's a pretty good series. I'm enjoying that. Anyway, again, if I missed anything or there's anything you want to add to this, put it in the comments and let me know. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.